All right. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today. Today's webinar is entitled Clean Code in Java, a story of monsters, heroes, and victories. We invite you to learn about the need for good practices in clean code today, along with the consequences of not using it, showing concepts like clean and learn as you code using free and open source tools will help you write better Java code. My name is Manish Kapoor, and I'll be a moderator today for this webinar. The webinar will be presented by Jonathan Vila, who is joining us all the way from Prague. Please allow me to very quickly go through some essential housekeeping points before we start the webinar. This session will last about 40 minutes, and it will include a Q&A at the end of the webinar. You're invited to submit your questions via the Q&A box in Zoom and not via the chat box. We have two panelists today from Sonar joining us. Thanks, Dorian and Haseen, for joining us today. They will be here during the entire session, answering your questions live during the webinar in the Q&A box. This session will be recorded, and we'll send out a link via email in the upcoming days. Finally, at the end of this webinar, a short survey will pop up on your screen. We consider feedback to be a gift. Thank you in advance for participating in this survey. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker for today's webinar, Jonathan Vila. Jonathan, take it away.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, Manish, for the introduction. Well, I'm Jonathan. I'm Java champion, and I'm a developer advocate at Sonar. But I'm also one of the leaders of the Barcelona Java community and co-founder of JVCN and the BCN conferences that we organize in Barcelona. I've been working as a developer for more than 30 years using several languages, but mainly Java. So let me start this presentation with what it is for me, a huge number. $2 trillion is the cost of poor quality code annually, but just only considering United States. But you can tell me, okay, I'm not interested on money. Yeah. But for sure, you're interested in time. So 4 days is the time spent per month and developer fixing errors. So these are huge numbers that I hope now I have your attention to follow the presentation. And let's talk about clean code and Sonar. Well, Sonar provides companies and individuals with tooling and methodologies in order to go to a clean code state for all their source code. Using SonarLint is a free plugin that you can install in the most IDEs that will help the developer to spot issues and learn from them as they code. Or SonarCube and SonarCloud that are the way to group all the statistics for clean code for different projects and provide quality gates that can allow or reject merging code into your main branches. If you want to know more, just please go to sonarsource.com and you will see more information about these tools. But I started the presentation saying, well, this is a story about monsters, heroes, and victories. And the first thing is to introduce our monster. So monster project, probably you can identify some of them that you have been working on. Well, they exhibit buggy behavior because, well, yeah, you know, they fail sometimes in production. They are not giving users and developers enough confidence. They have like a lot high coupling when they have classes that are being depending on other classes, and also they have low cohesion because domain objects are not grouped together. So you have the same domain object or the same concept scattered across the code. They are unmaintainable because, well, yes, this high coupling, low cohesion, a lot of bugs, several repetitions, it's not clear. Well, it's hard to maintain, you know what I mean, right? They use obsolete libraries, frameworks, and it's, well, you are not up to date with performance improvements or even security improvements. So yeah, it's also a problem of those monster projects. And they also have a lot of code repeated across the source code. And then every time that you want to refactor something, you need to touch several places. Well, in the end, you don't touch all of the places. So it's like you are improving some parts, but not others. But it's also about security. So those projects are more susceptible to common vulnerabilities and exposures because, well, they are using not updated libraries, they are not scanning the security. Therefore, well, it's more likely that this software will suffer from these CVEs. They also can lead to have more memory leaks and low throughput, and I will explain you why. Because if you have big classes, big methods that are doing a lot of things, it's more likely that every time that you want to do one thing, you will do several things at the same time because you don't have the code separated by responsibilities. And that could lead that in some cases, you are not closing resources, for instance. Therefore, you are going to have memory there that you are not releasing. And even you have low throughput because as you are doing a lot of things every time that you want to do one thing, then this could lead that definitely you are doing more things than needed. But also it has non-deterministic results because again, this code repeated, this code scattered across all the source code, it's all those responsibilities mixed in one method or one class are making that every time that you do something, you are also doing other things that you were not counting with. Therefore, it could be that those extra things that you didn't want to do are creating results that you didn't expect. As it is complicated to create specific tests for specific responsibilities because you are mixing a lot of things and you are having code scattered across all the modules or all the packages, then it's hard to define very specific tests that are covering specific responsibilities or specific features. Therefore, it could be that you are missing some use cases. Finally, everything is mixing and you have like a project with a big tech debt. For sure, you can think about some projects that you have been working on that can have some or all of these features, right? But what about the cost of those monster projects? Well, just only considering poor quality code, well, it's more than $2.4 trillion. And from those, finding and fixing bugs, it's more than 600 billion. So it's a lot of money impacted by errors and poor quality code. With the chart on the left, you can see that obviously, the healthier your code is, the less number of defects it will have. Therefore, the less money we are going to spend on fixing those bugs. That's clear, right? But it's not everything lost. So, okay, we have those monster projects, but we have also heroes. You know, probably you know someone that it is a hero. Probably you are a hero, that you have been working in a monster project and you fix it somehow, some parts. So let's see who is our hero. What's our regular our hero does in a regular day? Well, basically, obviously, introduce new features because this is what we are paid off, right? Paid for. We fix bugs, yes, definitely, some of them. But it's clear that we don't have enough time for tech debt fixing. You know, Some cases, I remember some days where we were creating those epics, tech debt, those sprints having a lot of issues regarding tech debt. And in every sprint, we were pushing those sprints, those epics, and it was very hard that we solve any of them. It's hard to dedicate time to tech debt fixing. Do you agree? Obviously, you do studies new technologies. Well, we have here a poll, dedicated time to fixing technical debt. Yeah, I would love to see which is your opinion if you had enough time, or if you have enough time to fix technical debt. It would be a surprise for me to see an enough or a whole sprint. My experience is not that. We didn't have enough time, and we were adding more tech debt to future sprints. But let's see which are your answers. Yeah, only a little. Yeah, looks more aligned to what I thought. So it's just considering none on only a little. It's it's a lot. It's 90%. So yeah, I thought that was the case. So yeah, you are in my team, right? So what did you do to be up to date? Well, you studied new technologies, right? You see videos online, you do trainings, you do courses, you go to meetups. I hope so that you go to meetups, and you go to conferences or webinars like this one. Yeah. So you keep up to date and you keep trained. Well, basically in cool things and cool and trendy technologies, but that's also important too. So that's very good for you. Let me congratulate you for being here. It's a very great step. Also, you do some meetings, right? Who doesn't? And as I do, for sure, you are investing a lot of time saying you're on mute to some of your colleagues. But I would say that most of the time you rant about old code. So you could be, well, nowadays, those computers and those keyboards are not, and monitors are not common, but I started being that guy, even with a tie. So at that time, we were wearing a tie. So what the surprise is that you can rant about code, you complain about all code until the moment you check the blame in Git and see it was you who created that code. But that's common. Things happen. So the important part here is that for all of us that are trying to be heroes, we need to define which is our Nirvana. So which is our goal in life? Well, there are two different Nirvanas. For software, we have software that is secure, maintainable, reliable, portable. That's clear, right? But for the developer, it's also important that the developer needs to be confident about what they are pushing to the repository is what it is expected, and they are not introducing new issues. The developer needs to be proud about the job that they are doing, and also skilled. So they need to learn about the issues, about the errors, in order to be a better developer every day. So our hero in this case heard about one order, the Clean Code Warriors order. And our hero decided to join them because, yeah, it's a fancy name. It's from movies, right? So they should be clear about what to do in order to fix code. And the first thing that our hero learns is their principles. or big principles. So the code that they release has to be consistent. It has to have the same format across all the software, the same conventions used to same problems. It has to be identifiable because we use clear namings for our variables, methods, and it's clear what a variable is containing, not using I, A, B as names of variables. It has to be intentional because it has to have a clear goal, a clear focus of what it is doing, not having several responsibilities. Logical because we are using a simple and logic approach, not over-engineering anything. Complete, yeah, obviously, because we don't have that code, it's not going to have incomplete parts. You know, those to-do comments, we will see in a minute. And efficient, obviously, because it is not consuming more resources than needed. Again, having a clear focus and not over-engineering any solution. Adaptable, because this code for sure is going to evolve. Yeah, I have some friends that are still running Java 5 applications with Swing in specific servers, but that's not the common case. It has to evolve, therefore, needs to be focused, so the code doesn't have to have several responsibilities. No repetitions, that's why it should be distinct in order to refactor code. Once we refactor one part, a lot of parts that are consumers of that part are already fixed. Modular, because it will help us to evolve individually every domain of our application. And obviously tested, so it has to be, it has to have a good test coverage, but more importantly, it has to have well or good tests. It's not only important lines covered by test, but also that your tests are good and are testing the right thing, just not only simply switching red lines to green lines. And also responsible, because obviously it has to be lawful, not infringing any copyrights and licensing. Also trustworthy, because it doesn't have to include hard-coded passwords and private information. Yeah, you think that's not common, but we will see in a minute that it is more common than we think. And respectful, because obviously it shouldn't use offensive language. This is also important. So our hero, after joining the Order of the Clean Code Warriors, well, they are trained with several tricks. Let's see which are the tricks that they are trained. Well, first, let's see for those principles, examples of code. Yeah, show me the code. So for being consistent, formatted, and identifiable, yeah, you see on the left, it's complicated to understand what the variable A is containing, or a variable that it is a name that it is going to be hard to read. That's complicated. It's not identifiable. And probably we can have even formatting problems. So use a clear name for our variables, identifying what they are containing, methods, classes. We are not paying by characters, so you are not going to be accounted for using more characters. Intentional, clear. Yeah, the complexity of the code should be low. I assume that you are more familiar with a concept called cyclomatic complexity. I will use this in order to explain this other concept. You know, cyclomatic complexity is counting or calculating the complexity for a given part of the code. So on the top part, on the left, we see a code that it is doing. I don't know exactly from a first glance what it is doing if we don't read the first comment, but the cyclomatic complexity is 5. And on the right, we have a simple switch case. Easy, right? But it has the same cyclomatic complexity. So from this point, you would agree with me that the left part is way more complex than the right part, but the number is the same. So then we introduce another concept called cognitive complexity, that it is really calculating the difference, or well, the level of complexity for a given code to be read. So on the left side, on the bottom part, you see the same method as above, but now it has a level of 9. But on the right part, now it has a level of 1. It's clear that a switch case is very simple to understand, and a method with several branches and conditionals is more complex. Now we have the two different numbers, and it's clear. We should go to the cognitive complexity number 1, and only going up if it is really needed. Intentional efficient. Well, in this case, I've seen this in several cases in my past. Yeah, let's write a calculator. Let's write an agnostic parser. Let's write, I don't know, a database connector. Because, yeah, one day we will do extra features. One day we will connect to a random database. Yeah, but that day never comes. So it's being efficient. In this case, if we only need to sum 5 plus 10, let's do 5 plus 10. Don't over-engineer your methods. This is also wasting resources. So why? If it's not needed, don't do it. Adaptable, in this case, this thing, okay, because in the left part, we are using the same code to get the username and the password to connect the database. Abstracted in a method, that's it, no repetition. It will be easier to evolve. With focus, in this case, we have an entity that is representing a book. It should have only this, an entity that is a book. In this case, we are even adding a method to print to console that it is not, a book is not responsible to print. A book is an entity, that's it. Trustworthy, yeah. In some projects, there are passwords hard-coded. And this is a serious problem. There are even several GitHub scrappers that are going to search for passwords. So use an external service to handle passwords, for instance. There are different ways, but do not hard code passwords. So now that our hero, well, we know the monster, we know the hero, we know what a hero does every day, the rules, the principles, and now some of the tricks. Before our hero starts fighting our monster, they need a report. Okay, how are the projects out there, really? Because it could be that everything is fine already, right? So no reason to worry about. But the thing is that taking the reports or the telemetry from Sonarlink, we see that lots and lots of projects out there, thousands, are having a lot of issues. And these are the most detected issues. Cognitive complexity is too high. We are having assignments for local variables, function parameters, private fields, and methods not used. It's definitely not in favor of having a clear code, and even not having a complete code, because you never know if this code is not used because it's not needed, or because the consumer of this code is not created yet. So yeah, you never know. That's a problem. A lot of to-do tags. Yeah, so / to do. We need to fix this connection. Yeah, and it never happens. Prototypes, well, in Java, if you are using a collection, yeah, specify which is the type of the collection, not just use the generic collection type on the variable. So it's important to use the specific collection type. Generic exceptions, we should create specific exceptions to be thrown. Local variables, yeah, again, we are declaring A to a variable and then doing the return A, just simply do the return, the content. And reference to null should never difference. Well, in this case, we are not checking for nulls, and we will suffer from null pointer exceptions. Yeah, we are having methods empty. Yeah, it's weird, but we have this issue. And most detected security issues. Secure password should be used when connecting to a database. Again, we are using not non-secure cryptographic algorithms for passwords. Attacks for XML parser with remote scripting. Endpoints that are vulnerable to cross-site script and credentials that are hard-coded. So we are suffering from a lot of issues, security issues in the projects analyzed by Sonar. And function calls to the input-output that are vulnerable to path injection when we are using the path value from variable sent by the user. So in summary, what we have is a lot of the code, also a lot of complexity issues, to-do blocks, error handling, null handling, is some vulnerabilities. At this point, it's also important for our hero to know some of the Java hints because they are Java developers. So they want some Java specific hints. Well, basically, this is one of them in order to avoid SQL injection. So instead of using a string concatenation, just use prepared statements and then specify the value of those parameters, and this will avoid any SQL injection. With HTTP request redirections, well, in this case, if we use a value coming from the user and we use it as a redirection, well, we should have like a list of allowed endpoints or destinations, and then check that the value from the user is in that list. And if you are using a Spring, yes, Spring does discovery of the beans from a package and below. If we don't specify the package in our Spring Boot application, it will start from the class path. So anyone adding jars to the class path can have been running in your system. So definitely do not miss the package on your Spring Boot application. Class that with the annotation. If you have threads and you have a method that is synchronized, that means it will be only accepting one call. If we need to sleep the thread, do not use thread sleep because this is going to block the thread. Instead of this, use the wait, and with this wait, the lock is released and used by other threads. So it's better to use this wait instead of the thread sleep. Also with printf style format, well, you know, it happens to me that when I use this code, sometimes I miss the argument. Sometimes I use a different type argument for the value that I'm using. So it's important to have the right arguments in the method call, and also the right type arguments on the method call, in order to not have weird and unexpected behaviors. This could be silly, but it is not. So it's important that tests are really testing. So if you are using assert.j, for instance, and you do assert that, okay, if you don't do the condition at the end, the method will pass, the test will pass, green, fine. Yeah, because you haven't tested anything. So it's important to check that all your asserts are really having the condition in the assert. Again, this seems obvious. Sometimes it's not that obvious. For instance, a nice thing for Java 19 is that when you are creating a hash map and you want to specify a capacity, if you use the constructor, in this case, if you send a capacity of 1 million, then this is not assured that you will have a hash map of 1 million elements. It is going to create the elements with bunches. So it's like first batch, 1,000. When you reach the limit, another 1,000 and another 1,000. So you can have like CPU picks or memory picks. Instead of that, if you use the static method of the hash set, in this case, new hash set, then with this, you are going to have the 1 million elements at that moment. So you will not suffer from peaks in the future. Well, this is simple, but it's important that don't make a class depending on a lot of classes. This will simplify your tests, definitely, and the reading of what really a class is doing. Also, it's important, methods should not perform too many tasks. So just break them down into smaller methods that are really doing simpler tasks that you can test and that you can really understand the goal of those methods. So it's a lot of things to have in mind. It's our hero alone with the IDE and the code and having all these things in mind. Well, basically, no. So we can have Sonar link, that it is a code analyzer in the IDE, where as you code, you are going to see, as you can see now here, all the highlighted exceptions. Issues. So SonarLink will show you which are the issues that you are introducing in your code on the open files. Then you can fix them as they happen. So it's important to use this tool in order to avoid having issues committed to the repository. Also, SonarQube, Sonar Cloud that are introducing quality gates that you can connect in the CI. So in the CI, you are going to have this tool having the quality gate. And if your code is not aligned with the quality gate, it's not passing, considering test coverage, issues, bugs, vulnerabilities, then your pull request will not be allowed to be merged in the main branch. And basically, with all of this, with these tools, this knowledge, which are the benefits that our hero will get from this? Well, considering the clean as you code, it's that, yeah, you are fixing issues before they go to the repository. So it's between you and your IDE, and you fix issues and you submit clean code to the repository. That's important for the developer to be confident about the work that they are pushing to the repository. And it's very easy with the tool. Learn as you code, because it's not about only fixing issues. It's also about learning from them. And SonarLint produces a good information that will help you to understand why is that an issue, how can you fix it, and you will learn about it. Here we have another poll question. Do you use any linter in your IDE? I gave an example of SonarLint, but there are other options. Just knowing if you are using any of those tools. Well, it all depends on the IDE that you're using, but yeah, there are linters for most of the IDEs. Yeah, that's great. Most of you are using SonarLint, but for those that are not using a linter, definitely go and try them. If you're not using SonarLint, yeah, you can start with this one. It's free, easy to download and install in your IDE, and will help you a lot, definitely. But our hero also has another problem, that using those tools, yes, it can be a lot of information. So you start you add your linter, you add your static code analyzer, and then you see lots of issues. Some of those issues, you could say, okay, this is a false positive. I'm not going to fix this because you haven't considered some parts of the code. Yeah, static code analyzers are not always 100% correct. So in some cases, depending on the code, if your code is depending on different parts, it could be that it is giving you a false positive. So you have an issue here, but you haven't. In this case, you can see here that, well, one issue is that instead of in get loaders, you shouldn't use string concatenation, but you should use arguments or parameters in the log method. But in this case, const value is a static final element. So in terms of compilation, it will replace the variable with a string. So in the end, you are not concatenating strings on runtime. So therefore, this is not exactly an issue, but you can, using these tools, you can say, okay, I'm resolving this as a false positive because in reality, I know that this is not an issue. So you also need to take care of this when you select which is the tool that you're going to use, depending on the false positives level that they have. But one of the problems that I've seen using this kind of tools is that people can be easily overwhelmed about the number of issues. So yeah, you have a project with a lot of modules, a lot of classes, and you analyze it with SonarQube, and you see thousands of issues. And it's like, wow, man, I had a lot of features to do, a lot of work to do, and now you tell me that I have thousands of issues. And more importantly, all the team, my team lead, everyone is really aware of those issues. That's a big problem. That can also impact on your confidence and also on the work of the team. But the thing is, you shouldn't focus on the whole code, because a nice thing is that eventually code dies. So usually, as you can see in this graph, code introduced in 2012, in 2022, we almost have nothing about it. So every year, around 20% of the code is changed. So there's no point on focusing on old code. Just focus on new code, code that you are introducing now, not code introduced in the past. Code that is new, and new can be from the previous version for a number of days. for specific analysis comparison, or for a reference branch, or even for a pull request. So with all this information that I have given to you, I hope you are still all awake. I will give you my conclusions about this topic. Basically, not using clean code is something that is going to have a huge impact on money, time, reputation, and morale of the team. It's important to tackle, definitely, because it will impact positively on the software, it's clear, but also on developers. There are hundreds of rules to consider to clean code. Just only considering Java in our tool, we have more than 600 rules that are checking your code. It's a lot to have in mind. But we are lucky. Several tools will help us on this. So we have IDE linters, we have tools with quality gates. I've shown you Sonar Lint, Sonar Cube. Definitely is worth to try. And there's no point on focusing on old code, but focusing on new code is the goal, because eventually code dies as the rest of things in the earth. So focus on new code, and eventually you will have a clean code project. Here you have also some references if you want to follow more deeply this topic, but you will have these references on the post. And basically, that's it. Manish, if you want to share about the upcoming webinar.
Yes. Thank you, Jonathan. That was excellent. Thank you for delivering the webinar today. Please join us for the upcoming webinar if you're available. It's on November 15. The topic is on there. We'll go deeper into clean as you code methodology. And thanks to all of you who posted the questions in the Q&A. We had plenty of them. Jonathan, I particularly enjoyed the story about monsters, heroes, and victories. So this was my first time listening to your presentation, this one. I think those are all some very good suggestions as to how to write better Java code. Sorry, we didn't get a chance to answer all of your live questions coming in, but we'll answer them we'll answer as many as we can during the rest of the time. Our community, by the way, is a great place to post questions and also review some of the previously asked questions that have been responded in the past. Please do visit us on sonarsource.com for further information on how to adopt clean as you code methodology, and also check out our future webinars and events under the resources section of sonarsource.com. Thank you again for joining us today. We'll take a few questions that came up in the next 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. So let's look at the questions. Jonathan, are you ready for them?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the attendees wants to know if you're delivering the same presentation next in your conference that you're at today, GCon in Prague. Are you going to deliver this one, or will it be a different one?
Yeah, it's similar. It's similar to this one. Yeah, tomorrow at 11 at GCon here in Prague. Yeah, it's a similar presentation. Yes.
Okay. Here are some questions which I think might be good to address. Is Sonar Lint and Sonar Cube are only covering Java?
No, definitely that's not the case. We cover several languages. Let me share. And I can share my screen. It should be. Do you see the page
Yes,
of Sonar Source?
Yes.
So here in the left, you can see several languages: Java, JavaScript, Kotlin, even infrastructure as code like Kubernetes or Docker, but also C#, COBOL, Python. So we are covering lots of languages.
Excellent. Can you talk a little bit about the rules for Java code analysis?
Well, as you can see here, we are covering more than 600 rules, covering vulnerabilities, bugs, security hotspots, code smell, with also rules that have quick fix that we are going to use with Sonarland. And yeah, we cover Java 17, Java 20 with few rules, but yeah, they are covering 600 aspects of the code. So a lot of elements of Java.
All right. There was a question, and I'll attempt to answer this, Jonathan. Do you provide free educational licenses for institutions? We do have SonarLint is always free, so you can use SonarLint anytime. We do have a community edition, which is always free, which is open source version for SonarQube. And if you would like to try out the enterprise edition or developer edition, we do have trials available for those. We also have a trial available for Sonar Cloud. And if you need a longer period license, you can definitely send us an email via the contact us button on our website, and we can look into it whether that can be done or not. There was a question about we still use Java 8. Yes, Java 8 is still supported. However, we strongly encourage you to move to JDK 17. Java 8 was released, I believe, 9 years ago in 2014. So it's time that we move to a newer supported LTS version, which has more features, and not only features. At some point of time, support for JDK 8 or Java 8 will end, and then you are basically exposing yourself to vulnerabilities that may occur after that. Let me see if there are any other questions, Jonathan. There were a couple of questions around PDF of the presentation and recording of the presentation. Recording of the presentation will be posted soon, in a few days. You will have access to it. There was a question about doing a similar webcast for Go programming language and clean code. And we will definitely put it on our roadmap. We'll look into it and schedule one as quickly as possible. So thanks for that input. All right, I think there are a few more questions, but we are almost at 10 minutes over the allocated time for this webinar. We will try to answer as many of the remaining questions which we did not get to. And our panelists are still responding to a few of them. So we will respond to the remaining questions and get back to you. Otherwise, community is an excellent place to engage with us, where we have product managers and Sonar Source engineers working collaboratively with you to answer your questions. All right, with that, I will wrap up today's webinar and look forward to seeing you all in a future webinar. Thanks for taking the time. And we would appreciate if you could fill in the survey that shortly pops up on your screen. Thank you.